Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to showcase a use case of how to configure global cache and put data into it and retrieve data from global cache. The concept is to not call database all the time and retrieve data from global cache such that the transaction is faster and quicker. Also, for this use case, I'm going to assume that uh, the basic coding structure for App Connect is known by everyone, and Java coding with respect to key value pair should also be known to everyone. So let's proceed. So in my last video, I showcased how to do a global cache setup for one catalog and one container server, and also talked about the concept of catalog and container server. And in this video, I'll be covering a use case of storing data uh, in my global cache and then retrieving it from global cache, such that in all my transactions I don't have to use retrieve it from a database all the time to save to make it quicker and also optimize the code. So yes, so I have a flow, not this one, yes, a basic flow where I am using an HTTP input node. This will take a JSON request, and I have a subflow. This subflow is in a library, it's a shared library, and if I go to this, it's pointing or it's referencing another library which holds Java code to store and retrieve my global cache data. So yeah, let me talk about it one by one. Okay, so this is my SQL server where I have my database, and I have a table which holds all the country data and its corresponding ISO codes. And so I have a JSON request like this, which is nothing but a message which is basically sending a feedback for a from a user, and it also display it has country data. It is having some rating, comment, timestamp. So these are not that relevant. I want to showcase the scenario where if in the request I am sending a country data, I am retrieving the ISO code as well. So as of now, as I showcased my map size, so my map size does it says that right now there is nothing in the global cache. So the concept is like, as soon as my first transaction comes in, my code is written in such a way that it will first check my global cache, and if there is no data in it, it will start loading the data from by picking it from the table, and it will store everything in the global cache, and then from next transaction onward it will pick the data from global cache itself and not query the table. So yeah, let me go one by one. So if I go to my cache util, like the subflow, so here you can see that what I'm trying to do is I've written 4 procedure. 2 procedure is to check whether there is data in my global cache or not. Is ISO data loaded in cache, or is country data loaded in cache? So it's pointing to a Java code. And then 2 procedure is to load the data. So here the logic says that first it will check whether in my root, not root, but the sub field inside my root where I'm storing the data has the value China or not for ISO map result val, and then yeah, for country map result val, whether it has the ISO code or not in country records. And it also, yeah, so if it does not have, then what it is doing is it's going to return a false here, and then if it is false, it will go and retrieve my data from the table, and then it will store it in ISO records. And then what I'm doing is I'm uh, calling this procedure load ISO data in cache, and then it's going here, it returns a boolean value, and then yeah, once it's loaded, it will return a boolean value and then send the message ahead. So now going to the Java code, this is my Java code. So here yeah, here we saw that first what it's doing is it's checking whether my data is loaded in cache or not. So this is calling this, and then is ISO data present method is being called. So is ISO data present? Yeah, so it's taking a map name and key. Map name is nothing but the country and ISO code. So yeah, map name is nothing but the country and ISO code. So it's checking whether yeah, my country and ISO code is there or not, which is this one, China, or yeah, which is China. So after taking the map name and key, it's what it's doing is it's just checks whether this particular like hard-coded value, if my whole data is loaded in the global cache, so this China will also exist. So what it's doing is it's just trying to do get from global map. If it's able to find it, then it will return a boolean true value. Sorry, it will return a character value, and that will be set here. And since it will be set, it will be not null, and it will be set as true. If it is set as true, then if this is true, then what it is doing is it will not load the global cache data again in my it will not load the table data again in my global cache, and it will directly send the message ahead. So from the next transaction, it will, like from the first transaction only, it will load everything, and the next transaction it will not load, so only it will go ahead. So the similar thing is for the country records. So then once yeah, and in the Java code, so yeah, if I talk about this block where I'm loading the data in cache, so what it's doing is it is basically this is a row variable which I've declared, ref ISO data. It's referencing to row ISO data which I've declared here for ISO and country specifically, and then inside it I'm storing the whole select query result from the table, and then I am sending this to this procedure load ISO data in cache. So this will call this method add ISO data in cache. So if I go here, add ISO data in cache, what it's doing is like first is like it's checking whether my global cache is null or not. If it is null, then it will in the key and value pair, it will first like the data which I'm forwarding from the table, it is storing it in key value pair, and then it is updating. If it exists, if the data exists in global cache, it will update it, else it will put it, and then it will go to the next data. So it will run as a loop and enter everything in the global cache. So yeah, this is how it will add everything in my global cache. And after everything is added, it will move, like for the first transaction, after everything is added, it will move ahead. It's going here, and then I'm doing nothing but just I'm taking all the inputs here, and then for ISO code, right? For ISO code, I am running a Java, again a procedure, get from ISO cache. So this get from ISO cache. Uh, so this is in another library which I'm referring. I guess, yeah. So to refer it, I have given the path as well. Yeah. So make sure that when you are referring the library, you need to give the path also, else it won't be able to identify where it is. So I am going to get from ISO cache, which is stored here in common ESQL. Yeah, and in this common ESQL, it is again calling the same Java code and this method get value. And in the get value, what I'm doing is like I'm trying to fetch the incoming country. Like I'm giving the incoming country as input in the ISO record, and I'm trying to fetch the ISO data. Like for example, I'm giving uh, in the input China, and I'm trying to fetch the ISO code of this. So in ISO record, I'm going to give China and will retrieve the value which is the ISO code. And then I'm trying to insert it into a table called user feedback, which is this table. Yeah, and then I am preparing an output JSON and returning the result and also the ISO code which I fetched from global cache. So let me quickly run this in debug mode to showcase what's going on. I'll launch debugger. Yeah, I'm not adding a breakpoint here, I'm directly adding a breakpoint here. So yes, this is my request. Got the message. So let me go inside the compute node. I'll go one by one. So okay, so is ISO data loaded in cache has returned nothing, because nothing is right now loaded in cache. If you want, I'll go directly to the Java code for the second one. So yes, let me go to the Java code. It's country data present. Yeah. So it's trying to get. So yeah, didn't find anything. It's returning an str value which is nothing but null, because there is nothing right now. So it will return false, and then this is also returning false. Since this is false, it will go to else. It will create last child of row ISO data, and then in ref ISO data dot ISO record, which is the row variable, I'm going to select all the country data from the table. If you see, I have everything in ISO records, the country and ISO code, and then okay, sorry, I didn't go inside the load ISO data in cache, but yeah, I'll go to it on for the country. Then it will go and call copy entire message. Here also, since country map result is false, it will go to the else part, create last child, declare. It will pull everything in ref country data. Yeah, it has everything. So I'll go to the Java code here. Yeah, and if you see here, it will try to do, first it is trying to fetch from global map for this str map name, which is country records. Right now country records does not have anything, so it will return a null. So that's why it will go inside this loop. So it went inside this loop, and so it is in the key it will take the first child, and value it will take the last child. So you can see, yeah, from the table it took 004 as key and value as Afghanistan. Key is ISO code, value is country, and then one by one it will keep on loading all the data. So let me proceed ahead, come out of the loop. Okay, so this timed out, that's why it has gone to this, but not an issue. We'll move ahead. Okay, this timed out. But then what did it return? It returned this. Why my thread got closed? Okay, no worries. I will try to trigger another transaction. Okay, I guess, yeah, the thread resumed again. So this is going to return true. And it will go inside store feedback. So yeah, now this is going to get the data from cache. So what I'm going to do is, for the ISO record cache, I'm going to, as an input, I'm going to send China and trying to recover the ISO code here. So this will call the Java method from procedure, which is this one, and then it will it has fetched the ISO code 156. Yes, and then it will insert this in the table, and it will prepare a JSON message as an output. Okay, why this failed? Okay, maybe because I triggered it twice. Yeah, let me see the response here. So yeah, it has fetched from ISO code 156. So let me do one thing again. Now, since my global cache has been loaded, right? So I will run this command and see what is getting returned. So yeah, now you can see that it has beautifully created country records and segregated it by having it like this. Okay, now in my next transaction, it should not pick data from table and then do all the process again, because my global cache has been loaded. So let me trigger it and see what will happen. This time I will give India and see what is going to happen. Yeah, so this time it will come here. So is ISO data loaded in cache? So let me see what happens. See, ISO map result val, yes, it returned 156. So China is already loaded, and also 156 is also already loaded. So country map result val and ISO map result val both returned our data. So this will now become true, right? Because it has returned a data, and then since it's true, it will directly go ahead and not load the data again. And if I go ahead inside store feedback, since it's India, it has pulled 356 for India. I will see whether that was the value in the table or not. And yes, let me go ahead and see the response. 356 in my country table. So yes, now it's not taking the data from the table but from the global cache. And also I'll just check whether it inserted in the table or not. So yes, it inserted in the table as well. That's good. So yeah, this is a basic scenario of how to load data in global cache, retrieve it, and optimize the code. So yeah, that's all. Thank you everyone.